So let it be written, so let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors. My name is Tim, and if this is your first time here, I'm only half a Tabletop Terrors, but my brother James does not come on these walks with me. If you don't know what we're all about, it's real simple. We believe that anyone can be more creative, and we love helping people be more creative. And the way that we do that is focusing on tabletop role-playing games. This is Daily Damage. This is a stream, literally and also figuratively, a stream of consciousness. This is where I walk and just share with you a topic. So if you like more classically edited videos that are a little more lean and to the point, this is certainly not for you. But I'd love for you to hang out and be a part of the conversation, which that's sort of the next thing. This is 100% a conversation. So please chat with me. Let's hang out, and what I will try to do is read the comments as they come through so that everyone watching can also enjoy them even if you don't see the comments. Today is a really, really special day. For me anyway, but let's talk about that in a moment. First, let's go to the chat, and then I'll tell you why it's a special day, and then we're going to talk about the unique races of Dragongrin. Hey! Matt Click says, look at that hands-free thumbnail. Production quality 10 out of 10. Oh man, dude, I almost took a pun taking that picture. Josh Holes, happy lunch, Tim and team. It's the daily famage. Bear Gaming, hi Bear Gaming. I'm looking at your avatar and it's just this, what looks like a either a Kodiak or like a brown bear. And I can't help but think of the RPG Honey Heist, that there's actually just a bear sitting at the terminal, just Bear Gaming. And all you can do is game, and your other ability is you can bear. Lawrence Kentworthy, production quality is never below 12 out of 10. Oh, yay, more race talks. Hey, Darius Jana says, oh snap. He said, I actually made it live. Bear Gaming. So today I'm going to my local game store to play my first ever game of D&D. Any advice? Matt Click says, the best advice is to have fun. That's it. I just echo that. There's no wrong way to do it. Just respect whoever's at the table and go in with the idea that you're gonna kill it. You're gonna have a lot of fun. If you do that, you're great. So Matt actually reminded me that the reason why this is a special day, aside from it being one day before Matt Click's birthday, is it's birthday eve from Matt Click. But aside from that, look at this look. Oh, you saw that. there was a girl in that truck and she was going. Anyway, the reason why it's a special day is because a year ago today, Absolute Tabletop and our campaign setting of Dragongrin was featured on the Geek and Sundry website. And that's pretty cool. I was really happy about that. Thanks to Jim Moreno for that. And it's just a really cool thing because starting in March, as of right now, we're going to be kickstarting Dead Man's Guide. And so it's just really cool to see how we've come, you know, in this last year, the distance. And I just absolutely love it. So, back to the chat. So what you looking at? He who gates as he orates. Yeah, I'll bite, I'll take it. Bear Gaming says, all right, thank you. Yeah, and Bear Gaming, don't be afraid to ask questions. But yeah, enjoy your first game. And if you catch yourself with your shoulders too tense and you're just nervous, take a deep breath and let your shoulders relax. Hey, Jonah Weatherby. Hi, Tim, you've inspired me to start walking. Awesome, let's be walking buddies. I try to go between 2 and 3 is when I leave. So if you're around, Jonah, we could be walking pals. And so good for you. And I can promise you, if you do it just a few days, it starts to become a habit. And then like I crave it. I actually look forward to the walks. I get in, I kind of settle in at work, and then I start thinking, oh man, I can't wait for my walk today. So what are we going to talk about? Well, last time we talked about the races of Dragongrin, we hit on some really good core races. Today, we're going to talk about some more unique races. Now, Dragongrin already has some interesting races, but we're going to talk about some stuff here that is really exciting. Chime in. I always love to hear your thoughts. I always love to hear your responses. And of course, I always love to hear your jokes. So, here we go. So the first unique race that we're going to talk about is a race that's probably in your campaign world or in a game you play in. It's our version of the Dragonborn. Ever the name-changing bunch, we instead are going to call our Dragonborn Dragonbound. That's a little thematic. The Dragonbound in Dragongrin, they are still bipedal, so they're descendants of dragons, but many of them are actually servants of the graves of dragons, or the grins of dragons. So you're going to see a lot of dragon-bound cities built around the grins or the graves of dragons. In Dragongrin, the word grin it's also another word for grave. So, for instance, in the grave of a, around the dragon grin of a blue dragon, you'd probably see blue dragonbound. And they're always looking for their buried forebears. They're always spelunking and searching for that next grin, that next grave, But some of them can be religious zealots, and they seek to possibly even raise some of these dragons, as undead, or perhaps feed them enough in the way of souls or life energy that they would be alive. But some are not as traditional, and some don't want to follow that path, and those are likely the ones that become adventurers. But that's sort of the Dragonbound, or the Dragonborn of Dragongrin. So yeah, let's see. All right, let's hit the comments. Darius says, other advice, roll with the rolls and make sure there's a mimic at some point. Now, are you dungeon mastering or playing? I get the assumption that you're playing. Joss Hull says, happy birthday, Captain Click. Yeah, man. Bear Gaming, just as Josh talking to Bear Gaming, says, I think you'll do well. There really isn't a wrong way to play D&D. As long as the table has a smile, you're doing it right. Amen to that and hallelujah. Fahad says, yo, Tim, in a lecture, just wanted to stop in and say hi. Hi, Fahad. I appreciate you sacrificing a small part of your education to walk with me for a little bit. I appreciate you doing that. Hey, Josh Bingham's is so glad I could make it. I'm really glad you could make it too, because, Josh, you're just in time for me to talk about halfkin. Halfkin. It's a lot like a shopkin if you have a child between the ages of 2 and 3. No, it's not. Essentially, this is the first of 2 races where we sort of made, I guess we could call it an umbrella race. Meaning, there aren't just half-elves in Dragongrin. We call them halfkin. Now, here's the thing. We laid some ground rules because I also don't want the ridiculous stew that comes up when every race can breed with every race. It's like, we didn't want to muddy up the tone with half dragon, half orc, all these different combinations. So here are a few ground rules that we laid thematically so that it would still be really cool, and the halfkin would be sort of an umbrella race, but also have some limitations. So first thing is, halfkin are always half human. Humans in Dragongrin can breed with any race. So any halfkin are half human and half something else. For some reason, and this is kind of the cool flavor thing. For some reason, the halfkin are very connected with the temporal shift that the dismembered lord is forcing on Dragongrin. So what I mean is, instead of just saying, all right, halfkin, mechanically, you're half human and you're half dwarf. That could also get pretty unwieldy and cumbersome So to avoid that, we thought, no, let's make it really cool. So if you choose halfkin, your racial traits that you can choose essentially have to do with a little bit of time and temporal stuff. So the other thing is, in addition to this like cool sort of halfkin time travel thing, not literal time travel, but that sort of vibe, like you also can choose one trait from another race that you are. So in other words, we've got it kind of locked down so that it's simple mechanically, but really cool thematically. And halfkin are the umbrella race where a human could be half human, half orc, could be half human. I mean, you can kind of go, and this really also comes down to what your dungeon master will allow, right? Will your dungeon master allow half human, half Sarek? Maybe, you know? It comes down to like really cool preferences, but instead of making a page-long chart of all the halfkin, it's like, no, here are the basic rules. Do what thou wilt, but do no harm. So that is the halfkin of Dragongrin. Let's check the chats. Hey, Josh. He says, I love the Dragongrin races. Dude, a ton. That's awesome. C.A. Hollenbach is here. He says, what's up? Sergeant 86 Delta. I love you Stormtrooper. He says, mixed or half-breed. Maybe a little of column A and column B. Drake Warren of the RPG Construct, an OG Dragongrinian, is here. Josh Hull says, well, I'm not going to read all the comments. There's a lot of really good advice that people are giving to Bear Gamer for his first game. But to keep the flow of the conversation, I'll just leave that for the chat. Alan Holloway is here. What's going on? Check for traps. Karen Davies is here. Hello, Karen. And so Drake from the RPG Construct says, half Sarek? Nope, not possible. Veto. Exactly. But the mechanics are sound so that it's possible. You just have to choose as a DM or as a player if that's something you want to do. So let's talk a little bit about the orcs. So the orcs in Dragongrin have 3 distinct flavors. We try to do something kind of unique and give you cool stuff to choose from. There are the Mogtarok orcs. Now the Mogtarok orcs they're intelligent orcs. They're sort of intuitive masters of the bleak. They're like bleak shamans in a way. They're very traditional, and they're not as violent and hate-filled as many would say, but they do believe that the humans are beneath them. So they have no issue keeping humans as slaves. Though other races, they believe that slavery is wrong. So they see humans as a sub-race. The Mogtarok orcs, if you know your history, played a similar role to Japan in World War II. However, in Dragongrin Evil 1. So the Dismembered Lord essentially said, hey, listen, I will give you the realm of Innis, which is like good guy land. It's like Stormwind. I'll give it to you if you keep the neutral zone of the Sphere Mountains between us. But if you help me win this war, you can have the lands. You can have the people in it as slaves. You can't kill them because, first of all, it could mess up time. Second of all, we need people to harvest to provide Grin and the people that live in the capital food and different items without having to work. So that is the Mogtarok orcs. So they live in, imagine if Stormwind in World of Warcraft were taken over by orcs who were terraforming it to be like a bleak swamp. Now, the bleak is an arcane maelstrom that exists in our realm. So that is the Mogtarok orcs. The Uldrag. The Uldrag orcs, they're also known as Bloodfire orcs. They've learned to harness the fury of their bloodthirst into a tangible energy source. Honestly, think Super Saiyan orcs. And this is Matt Click's idea, and I love it. And Andre Torres actually did a sketch of one, just like going Super Saiyan. But they go into this Bloodfire state. So a lot of them, it's kind of like a Asian flavor. And so, like monks, it's like a martial art. And it roughly translates into boiling the blood. So that's the idea. So these orcs, we don't have much more on them other than we think it's really cool to have Uldrag or Bloodfire orcs. And I think it would be kind of neat to not just make it straight Asian inspired, but also pepper in some other elements. Not sure exactly what to do there. Kind of an off-the-cuff idea is similar to how Firefly, the show Firefly by Joss Whedon, posits that, you know, the Asian culture spans the universe and is prevalent. Maybe the Bloodfire orcs have some sort of a thing like that too, where it's a long dead culture that's mixed in with the Asian elements, something like that. All right, finally, the Ixis orcs. The Ixis orcs, they're also called iron skin orcs. They're blue-skinned, red-eyed orcs, often bearing pale white scars in various shapes as trophies. These are more than scars, these are their rank. So they are the best necromancers in Dragongrin. And they seek to bring as many as they can into their armies of the dead. Not always as evil, they see this as a blessing in some ways. But they also seek to hunt and study the Sarek. So the Sarek are prime for these Ixis orcs to sort of like keep in cages and test, and because they are undead anomalies. They are undead creatures that keep more of their intelligence, and so it's like this cool kind of cross-pollination between two races. And so those are the orcs of Dragongrin, and those will all be playable races in the realm. All right. Micah People says, half halfling? Does that make it a 3/4ling? See, and that's exactly the reason. So yeah, just halfkin. Hey, I'm a halfkin. Oh, well, what half are you? Well, I'm half Silverwise. You know, you can kind of say it that way and it's less half halfling. You're less of a quarterling. What you're looking at is half rhino, half human, half warthog, half human friend. That's Bebop and Rocksteady you just described. Sergeant 86 Delta says rare, crispy, and extra crispy orcs. And then just for a limited time only, it's extra tasty crispy. Oh, turtles. Alan from Check for Trap says, this isn't even my true form. 4 sessions later, shaky eyes. Oh no, it's like you don't fight Cell. The Cell fight of Dragon Ball Z could have been over in, what, 7 minutes? That was a season long, but I still love to watch it. Alan says, if scars are your rank, I'd hate to get demoted. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. Swift Chimp. What is going on, Swift Chimp? Hey, what's your favorite adventure starter? Running my 2nd session Friday, and the party is all together now, just looking for a path to set him on. So, I will mention that. I will answer that at the end of the stream, because if I start answering it now, I won't get to the final 2 races, which I think are really important to finish, but I will definitely go into that. Ooh. Drake says, playable orcs. I'm intrigued. That is new information to some. It wasn't like a super secret, but we also didn't release orcs in the last playtest. But yes, orcs are 100% a playable race. So Swift Chimp, I'll get to your question here shortly. But let's talk a little bit about the Sarek. Sarek. So you got to decide how you want to pronounce your own lore. The Sarek. I like also taking a firm stance on it. Like, no, it's pronounced this way. It's kind of cool when a creator will go, well, it's however you want to do it. But it's also a cop-out. I'm like, no, when you invented it, what did you say? How did you say it in your head? How do you say it with your friends? You made it up, so, you know, tomato, I guess. Anyway, the Sarek. We've talked about them on other streams, but I think it's important to mention them in this stream, which is they are sentient undead whose days, like time off of their life, was stolen by the dismembered lord, our big bad in the realm, who's a chrono lich, essentially. They need to eat magic daily to live, or they get a level of exhaustion. And any creature can become a Sarek, though their origins and true nature are widely not known to the population. They're feared and hated as undead. So the average commoner doesn't know, like, oh, it's a Sarek, don't worry, he's a good guy. The Dismembered Lord just stole all his days. You can choose. As a player, you can choose to not retain any of your memories. You can choose to retain some of your memories, or you can choose to retain all of your memories. That's a thematic, sort of flavorful thing, but not every Sarek retains every memory. So the idea is that when your days are stolen, you become this creature. And so that is the Sarek. Let's go to the chat. Matt Click from A Fistful of Dice says, crucify him, Swift Chimp, in reference to our Those That Remain Dragongrin campaign. The first campaign I ever ran in Dragongrin. And so to start it, instead of being like, okay, you guys starting a tavern? Sound a little bit like Barack Obama then. Okay. You all start, and you're crucified. Not sure why Barack Obama's running a Dragongrin game, but it's great. Oh, so Drake Warren said, oh, that's new. He says, finally figured out our Sarek origins. Nice. So that's actually a really good point, Drake. I mentioned that in a different stream about the Dismembered Lord. Drake, if you didn't see that stream, I stream every day, but something that you need to watch is the Dismembered Lord stream if you're a Dragongrin lore nut, because we lay out everything about the Dismembered Lord in that stream. But yes, so we figured out well, and it's not that we figured it out. Remember how I was really dodgy and never told you the answer? It's because we didn't want to reveal that, because revealing that meant we had to reveal that the Dismembered Lord was stealing days, so it was a domino effect. But yes, the Sarek are Ascension undead that are a paradox. They are, yes, they are alive and they are undead, both at the same time, which is why the Ixis want to study them so badly. But yes, so yeah, Drake, he said, I'm on it. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff in there. You should definitely watch it. Lots of good lore. So the final two races are starting with the Tome Heart. Tome Hearts are constructs in Dragongrin. The origins of the Tome Hearts, they're widely unknown, but essentially, this sort of serves the purpose of the Warforged in our campaign world. And what that means is they are constructs to a degree. But one of the major differences between a Tome Heart and any other construct is that they're specifically designed to hold energy at the heart of their tome, at their tome heart. They essentially are repositories for important information. So that is what they originally were a long, long time ago. It's widely believed they were created by the Titans. So the idea is that a Tome Heart could be a repository for poetry. It could be a repository for arcane secrets. It could be a repository, but they are not alive. They are not playable. But every once in a while, a Tome Heart will become awakened. And an awakened Tome Heart can be a player. So, an awakened Tome Heart can also keep bits of that repository. And so there's actually a cool sort of mechanical flavor thing where when you're choosing your ability score increase, there's a roll table that you can roll on or choose that essentially lets you say, well, I was a repository for this thing, so I would probably have more dexterity because that informs, the kind of Tome Heart I am. So, there are also sort of newer school Tome Hearts, okay? These new school Tome Hearts were created and are created by the Glimmerforge Gnomes. The Glimmerforge Gnomes create these constructs. Now again, some of them become awakened. The main difference is that the old school Titan Tome Hearts, they're very, very powerful. Some of them even guard Titan superstructures. And so you can become and play an awakened Tome Heart. So yes, So that's what you are. You're a construct. In fact, Drake on the channel, the RPG Construct, has a Tome Heart game where all the awakened Tome Hearts play. It's a really cool game. So yeah, let's take it to the chut. Sergeant 86 Delta goes, Tome Hearts! Shaman Bill, when are we going to get some more Fistful of Dice DM development? I love watching you pull stuff from different systems so I don't have to. Can you tell me exactly what you mean by that? Because if you mean when are you going to get to see another game, this Sunday, the Provokers will be playing on a Fistful of Dice's channel. So, if that's what you mean, then you're in luck. But if that's not what you mean, tell me exactly what you mean and I'll answer you. Sergeant 86 Delta says, not to be confused with the Tomb Hearts, who are the keepers of the pyramids. Hey-o! And C. Hollenbach says, love the Tome Heart concept. So many ways to use them in adventure building. Exactly. And then, of course, you know, you have your evil Tome Hearts. I mean, you gotta have that, right? So the final race and the other umbrella race, in the same way that we wanted Halfkin to sort of be an umbrella race that was every half creature, just so that we don't have to come up with a new half creature every time, is the Morden. M-O-R-D-E-N. Umlauts over the O. Those are those two little Motley Crue dots. And let me tell you, our editor, Matt Click, is probably going to hate me for that, because that means that everywhere in the book that the word Morden is, we have to use a special character for the O so that it has umlauts over it. That's one of those things that's really cool until you have to put it into a 350-page book. Anyway, the Morden are essentially creatures that are from or touched heavily by the Shadowfell. Or in our world, the Shadowfell is called the Desolation. So, instead of having Drow and Duergar and Zwerfneblin, instead of having them all have different origins, you can absolutely play a Drow in Dragongrin. And that would be one name for it. It's like, oh, you're a Drow. All that means is that you're a Morden elf. That means you're a shadow-touched elf. You could be a Duergar. That's another phrase for shadow-touched dwarf. The reason why we wanted to do that is because, again, for us, it just made sense. Instead of having different races and different origins for all these different dark and gray creatures, we thought it would be cooler to just say, hey, the reason why they're all dark is from the same darkness, the Morden. So the real cool thing is we're developing a template so that you can apply the Morden to anything. So meaning if you're like, hey, I want to be a Dragonbound, okay, sweet. I want to be a Morden Dragonbound. Easy. Make a Dragonbound character, slap the Morden template on top of it, and now you're a Morden. So it's like you're a dark Dragonbound. Anything can be touched by the shadow, anything can be darkened. It's a matter of what your DM's going to allow. And of course, we'll offer different kind of tables and options in the book to give you some thematic but grounded options. And so that's the Morden. And so pretty happy with the way that that kind of turned out. And of course, if you want to just play a straight Drow, I mean, you could in your Dragongrin. But we wanted to reimagine anything that inspired us in our realm. So, not changing things for the sake of changing them, but all the stuff that you're like, you know, that's kind of cool, but it doesn't make that much sense. To me, that was Drow and Duergar and Zwerfneblin and all these different dark races that have all these different origins. I'm like, how many evil variations are there? So it made sense to me and James to have the Morden, who are touched by the Shadowfell, or in our world, the Desolation, and that explains it. Now, I believe that it's important to say there are some who are from the Desolation. So it's not just creatures who live on the outside of the Desolation. There are essentially Drow, Duergar, who can come from the Desolation, and they're more evil and deadly, is the idea. So those are the unique races of Dragongrin. Let's go to the chat. So the first comment I saw was Matt Click, the editor. He says, My love of heavy metal will override the editor aneurysm it gives me. It's funny because those are the kind of things you think about after you've made several books. When you first start making books, everything's awesome. Then, when you make 5, 7, 10 books, you start thinking, what took the longest last time? What took our focus off of being creative and became homework? And that's exactly the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing where we'll get people emailing us saying, hey, on page 298, paragraph 6, Morton doesn't have umlauts. I mean, for like a year after the book's out. Okay, Shaman Bill's question. Do you ever get nervous about time travel in a game? I love sci-fi, but time travel is to do it right. So I'm going to answer this question, and then I'm going to go back up to the adventure hook question. This question is, yes, it makes me very nervous. Time travel is probably one of, if not the most notorious thing to make players feel like their decisions don't matter, because you can go back and just wipe it. If you've ever seen a movie called Galaxy Quest, they handle it right. If you see a show like Doctor Who, they handle it right depending on who you're talking to. So a very quick time travel note, which is this. I try to be very careful to refer to it as time-based, but rarely do I come right out and say time travel. If I do, it's more of a slip, because time travel is not easy in Dragongrin. It's more about time manipulation, and it is a wild and dangerous thing. The entire realm is stitched together with stolen days, cobbled like duct tape. So you don't rock that boat. You don't go jaunting through time if you don't need to. It's also important to understand that these abilities are available to the Dismembered Lord because he's mastered them and sacrificed much of his humanity to be able to wield them. So the average person in Dragongrin can barely survive, doesn't have a place to take a crap with the door on it, and is not really going to be time traveling. With that said, yes, it makes me very nervous. So there will be breakout boxes that warn dungeon masters essentially what I just told you. You know, time travel can nullify player choices and erase conflict. So we don't want that, but it's more about warping time and manipulating time and stealing days and using those themes and those concepts. And I think the thing that we're leaning on most heavily is more like the alternate reality stuff, that there are multiple, dismembered lords. I don't know if you guys caught this in the other stream, but essentially there's a real framing device that every one of you who have Dead Man's Guide and run Dragongrin at your table, it's canon, because it's one of the multiverses. So we're setting it up with a framing device so that your Dragongrin really exists, and whatever you say exists in it, if my character shot through a portal to it, it's canon, because it's one of the multiverses. So the book lays out Dragongrin Prime, but everyone who owns the book owns a multiverse. You own a piece of the shared universe, and that's the framing device, and I'm really happy with that. All right, so adventure starters. We had a really good question about that. This is really tricky, but there's 2 ways to do it, and we're gonna put these 2 ways together because I think they're really, really cool. The first way is called the Matt Click way. One of the things that Matt will often do is give a short but very potent piece of description to set the stage. My recommendation for this is to choose a sight, a sound, and a sensation. So what do they see? What do they hear? What does it feel like? I'll give you a quick version so you understand what a vivid picture you can paint with that triangle. The sight is lapping aquamarine waves on the edge of a dock, okay? I kind of said the sound. The sound is the ebbing and flowing waves as they foam against the rocks, okay? The sensation is the air is misty and chilled and smells like salt. Boom, you're there, you're at the docks. So that's the first sort of thing, is that description. Matt Click then will sort of present the characters with what they're doing and ask them how they're preparing for it. So he's like, you see the ship that you're supposed to board approaching. How do you prepare for that? And so then they throw it to the characters, and the characters get to go, well, I'm doing this flavorful thing, and I'm doing this role play thing, and I'm feeding my bird, I'm sharpening the knife in my boot, you know, whatever. From there, so that's part one. Little description, ask the players how they're prepping for that thing. That kind of warms people up too, gets them in the mood, gets some kind of thing in role play. From there, present them with something to do, something specific. So it should be a challenge. It does not have to be a combat. So in this example, you can't board the boat because, you know, the quartermaster says, hey, sorry, the first mate's missing. We got to find him or else we can't go anywhere. Okay, what are the players going to do? They're probably going to try to find the quartermaster. They might not, and that's players for you, but that's the thing. Open up with a little description, ask them how they're prepping for whatever's approaching, and then present them with a problem or a challenge. That's the way I would do it. Back to the chart. Here we go. Here we go. Drake says, Tim, I need PDFs. All the PDFs. Not sure what you're talking about. Unless you're watching the other stream while I'm doing this stream. Hey, JB2020 says, it's been a long time since I've watched anything from you. Glad to come back. Glad to have you back, JB. Welcome. I do this every weekday, roughly. Dr. Professor, sir. So I watched your video with James from last year when you go over the races in Dragongrin. You mentioned having tables for half-kin and major minor heritage traits. I love the idea. That is still the case. He also says, I would like to use it in my world as well. Can you share any of your templates for inspiration? Not until the book's out, because that's going to be something awesome. And so when the Kickstarter's over, that's exactly the kind of stuff that we will share with backers. And the reason why I say that is because that's the stake. All of these streams are the sizzle. But when people see it for the first time, I want them to see it in the Dragongrin book. But as soon as the Kickstarter's over, that's exactly the kind of stuff we're gonna drip feed through the Living Production Diary. So I will definitely put that on the list. Also, your templates for your regions are excellent, and I want to get my hands on them. Yes, I think many do. That's another thing that we're gonna release is, you know, in fact, there is a thought that we are going to have part, not all, but part of the region template as a preview of the Kickstarter. It's awesome. What you saw in that stream was just a doc. It was a Google Doc. Matt Click has put it into InDesign, and it's even more drool-worthy than ever. So hopefully that doesn't deflate you and make you feel like, oh man, I promise that we want to share this stuff with the world. But understand that it's like, you know, when someone wants to reveal everything at once, we kind of want to show you all our hard work in the right way, in the right pattern, in the right forum, I guess is the best way to put it. So yes, all that stuff will be available to people. We're really proud of it. We think you're gonna absolutely eat it up, and it's coming soon. Ooh, Matt says, Tim, there's a present for you in the WhatsApp when you're done. I bet, listen to me guys, I bet it's the finished region template. Woo-wee! Thing's like 18 pages, and it is just glorious. Oh, it's so fun. One of these days, maybe we'll preview it. Maybe we'll preview it. I don't know. I have to see. But anyway, we want to share everything soon, but we put so much work into it, it's going to be a little while. But soon. All right, last couple of questions. My walk is ending. Let's see here. Swift Chimp says, beautiful, thank you. I appreciate that insight. For sure. They all call him Tim, says Sergeant 86 Delta. Dr. Professor, is the Kickstarter open? No, it is not open yet. And then Matt says slowly under there, it's in March. So it should be happening beginning in March. What you looking at says, I sent you money for backing the Kickstarter already. Don't be confused. It says tax refund from Department of Treasury, but it's definitely me. Okay, don't arrest me, CIA. That's what you're looking at. Dylan Allen says, how long have you been working on Dragongrin? 3 years. 3 years. And something that's definitely going in that living production diary are some of the first documents that we made, because they're laughably bad. When I look back at them, I think they're stupid, but it just shows you that it's about progress over perfection. It took 3 years for this marinating melting pot to sort of come to, let me use another word. So it's a marinating melting pot of congealed ideas. But that's about how long it took. And I have to tell you, it's gonna be another year while we write it. That's one of the reasons why we're drip feeding you stuff through the production diary, so you don't have to wait. But things will change and shift. And that's just the nature of ideas. The longer that they are familiar to you, and the longer you have to sort of intuitively think about them, the better they become, the more realistic they become. And that is how we have incubated Dragongrin. I think it's a really good note to end on. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out on this stream. Can't wait to share Dead Man's Guide with you. I think tomorrow I want to stream about the monsters of Dragongrin and some of the unique creatures that you're going to see in Dragongrin, and what we're going to do to overcome, not being able to use things like mind flayers or things that are copyrighted, but what will fill that role in the world, if anything. So I think that'll be a fun discussion. So until we talk again, until we walk again, may you mend the first break. May you kill the first snake. May you conquer everything you undertake. Matt, I'm taking a pun. Until next time, may your dice roll high. Sláinte.